So something we're just finding out about today, that six Secret Service agents have been suspended 2 days shy of a year after Trump was shot in the ear. Remember, the director of Secret Service, Kim Cheadle, took 10 days to resign after this. Why wasn't she fired that day? I'm sorry. If the president gets shot, the head of the agency gotta go. Mission failure. And if Trump hadn't turned his head at the very second, I mean, look at this animation right here. It would have been an even bigger failure. That's the only reason Trump didn't die, because he went to look at his chart. But there were more than a dozen failures in this, any one of which would have likely stopped this from happening if they had carried out just one of those. Look, I have worked on presidential security teams. That's me on one right there. This is when I was a SEAL for Bush. Things can be hectic sometimes, but what happened at Butler was ridiculous. And just to remind you of how many failures this took to make possible, I almost, and I'm not going down that rabbit hole totally, but there are enough failures to make you consider all kinds of theories here. The number of unanswered questions that I'll get to in a minute led me to think that there is a lot more to this story still than some ratty little picked-on kid who just decided to go up on a rooftop and shoot at Trump. Like, who the heck is Matthew Crooks anyway? We know shockingly little about this dude. Why did he have multiple phones, some of which were encrypted? Where did he learn how to make bombs with a remote detonation capability? And why was he not flagged by getting the explosives? I have to show a permit to buy ammunition in Connecticut. How come no one flagged that he was looking at the very distance that Lee Harvey Oswald, allegedly, for my conspiracy theory pals, was the distance that he shot Kennedy from? What were the foreign apps on his phone? No answers to any of these things. But the biggest failure was by the Secret Service.
The Secret Service is totally accountable for Butler. Butler was an operational failure, and we are focused today on ensuring that it never happens again and executing our strategic plan to increase technology, to improve communications, to make sure our personnel are well-trained, equipped, and deployed. We are laser focused on fixing the root cause of the problem.
Pretty sure I know what the root cause there. Look, I know a bunch of Secret Service agents. I'm good friends with the family, okay? Great group, but this advanced group and some of the people on his protection detail that day, not so much. You'd see this woman can't even put her gun away. This was all part of this DEI push. They should reassign all these DEI types to Obama and Biden's detail. Here, you guys made this problem. Here you go. This is your protection detail. Have a nice day. Another one on stage was a foot shorter than Trump, too. Okay, look. I actually personally know this agent. She's great. She's a great shot, pretty squared away, but she's a foot shorter than him. That's not her fault, but not even covering the part of Trump that was shot at. The fact that no one on the detail was thinking about this prior is a real problem, folks. Stack that on the fact that there was this failure to secure the building that Crooks took the shot from. Secret Service said, oh, it was outside the perimeter. Who made it outside the perimeter? It should have been inside the perimeter. That was the first failure. But the building was like 125 yards away. That's like a 9-iron shot from someone as bad at golf as me. Folks, as a SEAL, this distance is a layup shot. I have made shots like this standing on night vision in the middle of the night around a corner while getting shot at. It's a miracle that this dude missed Trump. Apparently, there were all kinds of line of sight. Oh, meetings all week during the advanced planning. I mean, come on, guys, this isn't corporate America. It's not office space with like TPS reports. This is presidential security. Meetings should have results and actions, but they didn't in this case. The other failure, and this is multi-pointed, communication. The Secret Service just assumed that local police and their snipers would cover this area, but apparently never confirmed that. Oh, oops, we forgot to ask if you guys would be doing our job for us. You think I'm being hard on the Secret Service here? I hope that's coming across, because this was not only a top-down failure, this was an agent failure. Every single one of these agents should have raised that question and then not put their protectee on stage if they were not answered. In 2007, when I was in Iraq, we were having a closed-door briefing. There was this whole plan about how we were going to infill and hit this target, clearly thought up by a bunch of veteran, really good team guys. Everything was perfect except one thing. And the only reason I picked it, I was the lead driver of the lead Hummer. Okay, so I'm looking at the route in. I'm a brand new guy, been in country for like 4 weeks. This is my first deployment. So I'm like nervously raising my hand so I don't get my butt kicked by the older guys. And said, hey, Chief, this infill route only has one way in and one way out. It's a few hundred yards from target. It was literally set up as an ambush point where the local militia had piled up cars for around every other entrance and exit. No one on my team had looked outside the quarter-mile radius. My point is, everyone will see something different. I just happened to see it that night. Just happened to. And thank God I did, because a week later, a striker convoy got hit in that exact same spot. Even more failures. Go to the House committee. Noted, they go down the breakdown in communication and said there was almost none of that day between the Secret Service, Pennsylvania State Police, Butler Township Police, and a bunch of other local law enforcement and folks lying around. Local police reported that a suspicious person, that was Crooks, with a rangefinder at 5:51 p.m., 20 minutes before the shooting. I mean, no one thought to relay that to Secret Service via radio. They didn't do that till after the shots were fired. Look, folks, I use a rangefinder when I'm hunting with a gun. Yeah, why would that be suspicious? The president was about to come to the very podium that some guy on a rooftop was pointing a rangefinder at. The House investigation report highlighted that Secret Service agents and local law enforcement used different radio frequencies and had no unified command structure. There was no single point of contact? Look, this is insane. I was a comms guy. This is like day one, week one of any interagency work. We had a common SINGARS frequency in Iraq that anyone could get on, any U.S. coalition forces at least, could get on to deconflict. So if my unit was driving around at 60 miles per hour on night vision, we didn't get shot at by some patrolling Army unit. I was 24 years old doing this. You can't tell me that the U.S. Secret Service in charge of protecting the president didn't know this? Also, remember, a local officer tried to climb up on the roof to confront Crooks and then jump down after Crooks pointed his rifle at him. They should have evac'd Trump that very second. But again, nothing was passed on to Trump's detail. No one thought to we can't get him on the radio. Oh, well, shouldn't be a problem. No big deal. No, pick up your cell phone and call someone and if they're not getting on the radio. Then finally, Secret Service was informed of a suspicious person between 2 and 5 times that we know about. Why that number is not concrete is even worse. But still, no report that he had a gun, that he had already pointed at a cop. This was a disaster. The House Task Force noted that agents with little to no experience in the advanced planning, don't even get me started on the guy who couldn't figure out how to work the drone that he was assigned to run, they were assigned to a high-risk outdoor venue. We also know that resources were pulled from Trump to cover an event for the First Lady, so that was Joe Biden at the time, not a real doctor. The Secret Service only had 12 staffers for this that were accompanying Trump because of that. Local law enforcement was stretched thin. They were handling over 100 heat-related emergencies, too. And this is where it makes me think this guy did not work alone. Apparently, there were multiple suspicious person reports from other areas that were coming in at the last minute. So it took the focus off of Crooks' location and onto a bunch of wild goose chases that never amounted to anything. Even further, the House report cited inadequate training and leadership, with agents unclear of who was actually in charge of what, which is why the snipers didn't take the shot right away, because they were trying to confirm that the guy that they had in their sights was not a fellow law enforcement officer in plain clothes. They couldn't get anybody on the radio. A bipartisan congressional task force report found that the shooting was preventable and should not have happened. I totally agree. And it took a year to suspend these people. They weren't even fired. They were suspended. And we still don't know hardly anything about a ton more things, like why they sprayed down and washed the crime scene with hoses right away. Why was Crooks' body cremated so quickly before anybody could examine the body? Was there a second shooter? We've been told that Matthew Crooks was the sole shooter, but there were multiple people on the ground who can swear that there was possibly a second shooter. Can we get an answer on whether or not these procedural failures in the Secret Service have been rectified? They say yes, but how? This is not classified. All in, this is either mass, and I do mean mass incompetence, that you need to fire everybody with any responsibility of management on that day on the Advon unit, or there is something they deliberately don't want us to know. Neither are great for the credibility of the Secret Service.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.